I'm the author of a book called Mushrooms and Mankind, The Impact of Mushrooms on Human Consciousness and Religion, where I trace back the use of the Amanita muscaria mushrooms and Psilocybes species mushrooms into various religions all over the world. In particular, the Amanita muscaria has a lot to do with Christmas, because a lot of the themes associated with Christmas are directly related to Amanita muscaria mushrooms. I've written another book that's almost finished, and it should be out this year. I was really trying to get it done by this Christmas, but it didn't happen. So this one's called Hidden Mysteries of Christmas, an unveiling of mushrooms, magic, and astrotheology.
No way.
Yeah, influencing Christmas customs and traditions.
Well, so are we going to get a preview tonight of what's in your book?
Sure are.
Right on.
Yeah, people have been telling me I need to write a book just about that for years, and I knew it too, because the Christmas thing with the mushrooms is so interesting, and it's just so mind-blowing that all these customs are practiced by millions of people, and nobody knows the roots of them. And so as I started to do some more research, I found out a lot of things, and we'll talk about those things, but as I started to delving deeply into religious customs associated with Christmas, it absolutely blew my mind. I found so many things that are it's phenomenal.
Well, where do we start on this journey? How did you start? Yeah.
Let's start with the easy stuff, the basic stuff, because I don't think we've talked about this on here before, maybe a little bit. But let's look at some of the customs that are associated with Christmas. For one thing, we have this guy named Santa Claus, or St. Nicholas, or Old
St. Nick.
And he's Father Christmas. And he comes from a lot of different varied traditions, some of which are associated with Old Norse and Germanic gods, which in the 1500s, where we have Christmas today, or what Christmas looks like today, its traditions really are from about the 1500s in Germany. And they conglomerated several different Old Germanic and Norse gods and the myths associated with them to come up with their Weihnachtsmann, the Father Christmas. And so we have some of the things associated with them that are associated with these Norse and Germanic gods, like Thor and Donar, Wotan, Wodenaz, and Odin. These gods that fly through the sky in their chariots. Well, Thor, which is one of the gods of Norse renown, flies through the sky in his chariot, and he throws a lightning bolt to the ground, which, surprisingly, this object called Mjolnir, that's called the hammer. So the hammer of Thor is the first place we'll look for old mushroom knowledge and customs. First, the hammer is shaped just like a mushroom. The hammer was fashioned by elves, and of course elves are always associated with mushrooms. But when he throws it to the ground, it disappears and it turns into a lightning bolt. The lightning bolt flies down and hits the ground, and then the hammer magically reappears. So one of the customs always associated with the mushrooms is that they appear where the lightning bolts have hit the ground, back in the Norse and Germanic customs. So Thor's hammer is a pretty good association for a mushroom. Odin is another one of the Germanic gods, Norse gods, that flies through the sky in a chariot, also pulled by horses. And in the old customs, when the horses were exerting all of their strength, and they were pulling so hard and moving so fast that their mouths started to salivate and slobber, and the slobber mixed with blood from their teeth, and when the slobber hit the ground, that's where the mushrooms grew. So we have two different associations, at least, with these different Norse and Germanic gods. Now, I mentioned several names: Odin, Wotan, Wodenaz. All these are the same person, just in a different tradition.
James, are you saying then that in the Nordic and Germanic tribes, that when they found the mushrooms, that they had thought then that the gods, that a thunderbolt either came down, or that this was part of this was actually an emanation from one of these gods. Whenever they found the mushroom, they made that connection?
Yes.
Okay.
And there were several associations, and of course, when the striking thing is finding the mushrooms, and when you see them, they're just so big and bright, and they're red with white spots, and they grow under the pine trees or the oak trees or the birch trees, which are all associated with the holy tree of life. Mm-hmm. Depending on which custom you're in and which part of the world you're in, then it depends on what tree the mushrooms are associated with. So they're always considered holy trees, and the mushrooms are considered the fruit of the tree because they grow specifically under the trees. The actual living organism is called mycelium and grows underground. Mm-hmm. The mushrooms are the fruit. So the mushrooms are the fruit of the tree. And so that's why you always find them underneath the trees. You don't find them scattered somewhere else unless there's root systems that are still living and the mushrooms are growing under them where the tree had been chopped down.
And let me ask real quick, a little bit off topic, but how plentiful are these particular white-spotted red mushrooms?
They grow all over the world, and they're quite plentiful.
Really?
A lot of times when you find one, you'll find a lot of them. And when you run into a group of them, it's so striking. I mean, you'll find hundreds and hundreds of these things, and they can get up to 16 inches in diameter.
No, that's huge.
And 14 inches tall. So they are huge, and they're these gigantic things that are associated with the little people. You know, shamanic custom always associates spirits with the plants, and the shamans speak to the plants.
Yes.
And one of the oldest customs that we have associated with Christmas is that Santa Claus is the gift bringer. He's the one that brings the gifts of the gods to man. He's like the shaman. In fact, he is a remnant of the shaman, because pre any major established religion, we have the shamanic cultures which fed into all of these religious customs.
Yes.
So we have the holy man in different tribes all over the world. We have holy men that are shaman from Siberia that are associated with reindeer that come in through an opening in the ceiling. They get to your house. They bring the Amanita muscaria mushrooms in bags, dried in sacks. And when you find the mushrooms, they have to be dried. So they're generally hung up in the shamanic traditions, especially in Siberia. They're strung up on strings and hung over the hearth of the fireplace so they can dry. There's a alchemical process that happens, a decarboxylation of certain substances called ibotenic acid, and they decarboxylate into muscimol. So anyway, the mushrooms need to be dried, and they're done by hanging on the fireplace just like we hang our stockings.
Yes.
So the shaman come in through the roof, they bring us the mushrooms, and a lot of times they're accompanied by their reindeer, which are their token animals, and lots of times the shamans are reindeer herders.
Are you saying then that at a particular point, maybe it is around this winter time after the harvest of these mushrooms, that you're saying that whole villages would eat these mushrooms and have particular visions? I thought that these kind of mushrooms were only for priests and for kings, but was everybody taking part?
No, everybody can take part. It's these mutually exclusive religions where they start saying that only the shaman or the priest or only the holy person can have the mushroom, not the normal people, where we get into trouble. It's
Very
exclusive,
good.
and the things start to become secret.
Yes. Very good. Okay, darling, sorry. Go on.
Unfortunately, I have a visitor coming up to my door. FedEx. So can we take a break?
Okay. We'll be back in 1 second with James Arthur. This is Eben, KPFK 90.7 FM, Los Angeles.